Hello again, my name is Rodney Reynolds and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the ABIT AN7 motherboard. What is included in this package are two serial ATA cables, one power cable for two serial ATA hard drives, one floppy cable, one regular IDE cable, an I/O shield plate, the installation guides, as well as some software and drivers and the motherboard. This motherboard is based upon the N-Force 2 chipset, and let me now just go through and detail some of the key features about this motherboard. Right here you can install the AMD CPU, a CPU anywhere from frontside bus to 266 all the way up to 400 megahertz, and of course you can overclock it a lot further than that. Right here you can install 3 gigabytes of memory, the floppy controller, and the two regular IDE controllers are right here. Now this board can do serial ATA 150 RAID. It's the silicon image, and you can connect those drives right here. There are 5 PCI slots and 1 AGP slot. There are 4 fan headers on the board, 2 right here and 2 more down right here. The power connections are in the same place on the board, and they are located right here. You'll also notice that this board does have active cooling on the chipset. This motherboard also has the regular PS2 ports, one for the keyboard and the mouse, the regular COM port, parallel port. It also has optic in and out, 6-channel audio, a FireWire port, 4 USB 2 ports, and onboard LAN. Something quite different about this motherboard is a little microprocessor called Guru, and it's located right here. Now what this thing does is control a number of BIOS functions. However, you can control these things right from Windows using special ABIT software. Now I'm going to show you what that's all about a little later on in the video review. This motherboard also has an LED device to display post code. POST stands for Power On Self-Test. So every single time the computer is turned on, the motherboard will display a post action. Now the post process is controlled by the BIOS, and it's used to detect the status of the computer's main components and peripherals. So each post code corresponds to different checkpoints that are also defined by the BIOS in advance. So if you have a problem with the motherboard, you can cross-reference this post code and find out what the problem is. In the BIOS, within the soft menu setup, is where you can go to do a lot of overclocking. You can just go ahead and select a number of automatic settings. For instance, I'm using the 2500 plus. You can go ahead and just select that if you want to, but if you want to overclock, you can go user defined, and within here, then you've got a number of other options. For example, now you can adjust the frontside bus, which goes all the way up to 300 megahertz. Also a multiplier factor which goes from 5 all the way up to 22. You can also adjust the AGP frequency, the CPU front side bus, and DRAM ratio. Now at the bottom you've got a number of different voltages that you can adjust. Of course you can leave them at default, but if you're overclocking, you're going to want to increase these. You can increase the CPU voltage all the way up to 2.313 volts. The memory voltage can go all the way up to 3.2 volts. The Northbridge core voltage can go all the way up to 1.75 volts. And finally, the video card voltage can go all the way up to 1.65 volts. So you've got a lot of overclocking potential with this motherboard. Within the advanced chipset features of this BIOS is where you can go to tweak your memory. You've got a number of different automatic memory timings: optimal, aggressive, turbo, bi-SPD, and if you select expert, you can adjust these manually. Also in here you can adjust the AGP aperture size and a few other options. Within the integrated peripherals, you can go to enable or disable things like the onboard USB, the onboard FireWire, the onboard audio, the onboard RAID, and so on. And finally, within the PC health status, you can monitor the temperatures, the different voltages, the fan speeds, and you've got an area in here called fan EQ control. Now, I'm going to go into this a little later on in the video review because they have software where you can control this area. ABIT has really packaged some useful software with this particular motherboard. First of all, I'll have a look at what's called the ABIT EQ. And this particular software will display the voltages, the different fan speeds, and the different temperatures. You can go ahead here and click this button, and it will reveal all those different things in detail. For instance, right here you have the voltages, the fan speeds, and the different temperatures. A software program that overclockers will really enjoy is called OC Guru. And within here you can adjust the front side bus. You can also adjust the CPU voltage, the video card voltage, and the memory voltage. Once you have everything to where you want them, save it and then apply. This software program essentially means that you don't have to go into the BIOS to make all of these adjustments. Another very useful program is called Flash Menu. And what this program does is update your BIOS right from the internet. So there's no need anymore to use a floppy disk to update the BIOS in DOS mode. Now you can do it with this program right from the internet. And finally, I'll have a look at a program called Fan EQ. Now what this program will do first is test the fans, the CPU fan and the Northbridge fan, and then come back with a screen where you can adjust the speed on both the CPU and the Northbridge fan. And the fan speeds are determined by temperature. There are a number of different fan EQ modes for both the CPU and the Northbridge fan. Let's go back to the CPU fan here and have a closer look at the fan EQ modes. There's a cool, a quiet, a normal, and the user-defined mode. Let's go back to quiet and have a closer look as to what's going on right here. The default minimum spin is defined here with this quiet mode setting as 4,140 RPMs, but when the CPU reaches a temperature of 45 degrees C, it will then increase the speed of the fan all the way up to 5,160 RPMs at 75 degrees C. And of course, each one of these modes have different settings, and you can just go ahead and define these as you may. And of course, remember that you can do the same kind of setup for the Northbridge fan. This motherboard offers performance, stability at a very good price, and it's jam-packed with features. You've got RAID, you've got onboard LAN, you've got onboard audio, you've got onboard FireWire, USB, and on. So it really is packaged with a lot of goodies. One thing that I would have liked to seen changed on this motherboard, and there are a few others like this as well, is the location of the power connections. I wish they'd actually remove those and put them to the right. So when you install the board, you don't have these huge, massive power cables trailing over your CPU, and it will interfere with air being sucked in a little, and it looks really bad if you're trying to keep all the wires neat and tidy. But aside from that, this is a kick-ass product. Again, my name is Rodney Reynolds, and this has been another video review. Be sure to check back very soon. I will have a brand new one for you then. Also, pop into my website at www.3dgameman.com. And while you're there, you can go into the forums and register. And remember, registration is completely free. Also, keep in mind, you can find out a lot more on this product in the forums. Until the next time, take care.